The money sitting in your bank account right now, the house you think you own, the stocks in your portfolio. You believe they belong to you, don't you? You are wrong. In the eyes of the current legal system, they are no longer your property. They are merely entitlements. A massive legal framework has been quietly constructed for the largest wealth transfer in human history. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It is a documented mechanism hidden within thousands of pages of legal code. It is called the Great Taking. When the system enters its next collapse, you will be left with nothing. And the worst part? It will be perfectly legal. The modern world is built on the concept of property rights, but over the last 50 years, the definition of ownership has been subverted. In the past, when you bought a stock, you physically owned a piece of that company. You held the certificate. Today, all you own is a digital entry in an intermediary's database. Legally, this is now defined as a security entitlement. You are no longer the owner. You are a beneficial owner, which in legal terms means you are just an unsecured creditor. If your bank or broker goes bankrupt, the Great Taking activates. New laws have placed giant financial institutions at the front of the line as secured creditors. You are at the very back. Your assets have been turned into legal collateral to pay off the debts of the banks. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. During the Great Depression of 1929, people lined up outside banks only to realize their money was gone. In 1933, Executive Order 6102 was signed by President Roosevelt, effectively criminalizing the possession of gold by the public. Property rights were suspended under the guise of public interest. But what is happening today is far more sophisticated. In 1933, they took the physical gold. Today, they are positioned to take everything digital, your entire net worth, simultaneously. How did this happen without a single headline? The answer lies in a quiet change to the Uniform Commercial Code, specifically Article 8. Across the globe, laws were synchronized to turn private property into a commingled pool. This means your specific shares are no longer tied to your name. They are part of a massive collateral pool held by the clearinghouses. If a major bank loses a bet in the quadrillion dollar derivatives market, your assets are automatically used to cover their losses. When you try to claim your property in court, the judge will point to the law and say, "You didn't own it. You only had a claim to it." And that claim has been extinguished by the primary creditor. The global economy is currently floating on a $2 quadrillion derivatives bubble. That is more than 20 times the GDP of the entire world. When this bubble bursts, the financial elites will need real collateral to survive the crash. Your stocks, your pension funds, and even your savings are the fuel intended to keep their system alive. The plan is simple. Centralize all property to cancel out the unpayable debts of the elite. This will be the fastest and largest migration of wealth in human history. And most people will never see it coming until their screens turn red. But why now? Why is this legal trap being sprung in our lifetime? Because the old system of paper and debt has reached its mathematical limit. As we've discussed in our previous videos on the 1971 Nixon shock, once the tie to gold was severed, the countdown to this moment began. The elites know that the current debt-based model cannot be saved. It must be replaced. But they won't replace it with freedom. They will replace it with Central Bank Digital Currencies, CBDCs. This is the lock on the door of the Great Taking. If the taking is the seizure of your past wealth, CBDCs are the control of your future survival. Imagine a currency that can expire if you don't spend it. a currency that can be turned off if your social credit score drops, or if you exceed your carbon limit. This isn't science fiction. It is the logical conclusion of the legal framework we are seeing today. By moving all assets into a unified digital ledger, the central planners achieve total transparency and total control. In the Great Reset, you truly will own nothing, but the happiness they promise is simply the absence of the choice to say no. We are currently living through what historians call the fourth turning, a period of institutional collapse and rebirth that happens every 80 to 100 years. Just as the world transformed between 1929 and 1945, we are in the middle of a new transition. The Great Taking is simply the financial mechanism of this era's crisis. It is designed to strip the middle class of their independence, so they have no choice but to accept the new system. But history also shows us that those who see the patterns early are the ones who survive. So how do you step outside of a trap that is globally synchronized? The answer lies in true ownership. Physical assets. As we saw in 1933, when the state is in debt, property is a myth. You must hold what is yours outside of the digital banking grid. Gold, silver, and productive land are historical hedges because they cannot be deleted by a clearinghouse. Self-custody. In the digital realm, not your keys, not your coins, applies to everything. If an asset is held by an intermediary, it is at risk of the Great Taking. Look for ways to hold title directly rather than through beneficial ownership structures. Knowledge. The greatest asset you have is your ability to decode their moves before they make them. The Great Taking is not a fate, it is a plan, and plans only work when the targets remain in the dark. By watching this, you are already ahead of the curve. The era of passive investing and trusting the system is over. It is time to become your own central bank. If you found this analysis valuable, share it with someone who still thinks their bank account is safe. Subscribe to Financial Historica as we continue to peel back the layers of the world's most guarded financial secrets. Because in the coming years, the difference between the wealthy and the destitute will be one thing: information. Thank you for watching.